Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Cleantech, your favorite 15-minute roundup of the biggest stories in climate and clean energy this week. If you're keeping score at home, today is Friday, July 18th, 2025. Our guest this week, Sam Black from More Perfect Union. He's on the horn, will be joining us shortly. In the meantime, on Factor This content director Paul Gerke, joined as always by Cleantech commentator Mike Casey of Tigercomm. Mike, that's the fastest I've ever gone through the intro. I didn't add anything there.
You know, we might get under 15 minutes this week, pal.
Not if I have something to say about it, but I just wanted to start hot.
Do you know that I'm a budding poet? I'm going to read you a poem.
I did know it. I did.
Roses are red, violets are blue. Give away your economic future, and you'll cry too. All right? Dude, that
Beautiful.
Is awesome. And chat didn't even write that. All right.
No, we need one of those drums so we could do like a 90s coffee style like beat poet delivery for it. I think that would add something.
Did you see Mendez's new? It's not even a goatee. It's kind of a very Euro look. It's kind of an incomplete goatee.
The fact that you said it was a Euro look, it didn't dawn on me at first, but I see it now. Like he could be like a street performer in France. Like really, he's an artist. For the people that don't know, Brian Mendez is a legitimate artist.
Yeah.
Not with paint, but with sounds.
Yes, it is. All right, I want to give a listener shout out to Dave Silman. He applauded our short featuring our video short that featured our interview with Bloomberg's Mark Gongoloff. He said, "I'll take this shout out proudly because I think you guys on the pod rock." Back at you, Dave Silman. Yeah, baby.
That's a nice thing to hear. Appreciate that, Dave. If you guys want to be on the show, all you have to do is say something nice about us. There's just not that much of that going around. We'll find a way to get it on the show. You could just email us or find us on LinkedIn. My email address is paul.gerke@clarionevents.com. Mike, we've already sabotaged the fast start, so let's get to our first story of the week. Number one, what do we got?
I think we come across as like desperate users of a dating app, the way we were groveling for attention here.
Just keep swiping.
All right. Number one, our first story is an opinion piece in the New York Times by former General Motors executive Michael Dune titled, "Why Americans Can't Buy the World's Best Electric Car."
Oh, this is something that has come up on the show before. So BYD has surpassed Tesla this year to become the world's top-selling EV brand, but most Americans wouldn't be able to tell you what BYD is. If they've seen the car, they've probably seen it in a social media video. Tariffs on Chinese EVs have kept BYDs off of American roads, but that won't be the case competitively in the long run, at least in other places. U.S. EVs not getting any more competitive by keeping the Chinese better products away either. China's industrial model includes government support, long-term planning, aggressive innovation, the sort of things that we're sort of dismantling here stateside. They manufacture their own components in-house, which makes vehicles a lot cheaper. They don't have to worry about someone sticking a bunch of tariffs on things, for example. Mike, what did you take out of this piece?
My take is that my show partner is a closet radical free trader.
Yeah,
you are a radical free trader.
You're right. You're right.
There's an argument that letting BYD into the U.S. would benefit consumers with cheaper EVs and help American automakers learn from their innovations. But BYD's cost and tech advantages would crush U.S. competitors, threatening jobs and the overall industry security. And hey, why let China do that when our Congress is already crushing our domestic EV production all by themselves?
Every 15 seconds we layer in a shot. It can't get far.
Michael Thomas, a former This Week in Cleantech guest, he's just talked about the latest Politico scoop on how the administration wants to take further steps to downfield block for the oil and gas industry by going after solar and wind. But hey, back to this piece. It argues that to avoid being left in the dust, we should stop coddling American companies with tariffs and instead advance a sort of Manhattan Project for cars to rebuild our manufacturing and supply chains. Or he says we can, quote, continue making gas-powered trucks and SUVs and fade into irrelevance. Boom, Paul Gerke. Boom.
Sounds like the way I intend to go out, fading into irrelevance. Story number two. Don Nico Forbes from the Wall Street Journal, titled "Supercharging Solar with Quantum Dots." I know a dangerously small amount about quantum dot technology. Enlighten me, Mr. Casey.
Well, first thing I'm going to tell you that if your predecessor on the show, he would be hating on this story because John Engel hated new tech. You're a much more
of an open-minded guy.
You are a much more open-minded fellow. All right, quantum dots are nanocrystals, or microscopic spheres of semiconductor material 10,000 times thinner than a human hair. And according to NREL, they have the potential to double the efficiency of solar cells. Quantum dots are most commonly been used in modern TVs for more vibrant colors. And last Wednesday, First Solar announced a long-term commercial partnership with advanced materials company Ubiquity to embed quantum dots directly into its solar panels, making the biggest move yet to scale the technology within the U.S. renewable sector, which I think is totally badass. Paul, what do you think?
I think I missed that news because that is something that I would have liked to publish about. That completely slipped through my radar, which is great that we have it on the show. I did something on Ubiquity a while back. Like I said, I know a dangerously small amount about this stuff. It sounds very promising. I had no idea we were at the point where First Solar was going to take it to market. That's awesome. Quantum dots can be manufactured at very low cost and applied like paint kind of to solar modules. A previous iteration of quantum dots was made with some toxic heavy metals like cadmium and lead, so don't lick them. But the new version developed by Ubiquity, DOE's Los Alamos National Lab, and MIT uses copper and indium instead, slightly more friendly materials. Mike, story number 3.
Zach Coleman from Politico. We got to get him on the show, by the way. I think we definitely have to have him on.
Someone give us his cell.
Because you're gonna get pelted with emails by First Solar and their PR firm going, dude, we pitched you 10 times, you ignored us.
Inbox can be like that sometimes.
All right. Mr. Coleman wrote, Dems couldn't say Biden's energy program, so they'll try to make them a weapon against the GOP, Paul Gerke.
Yeah, so our guest Sam Black has a video that gets at this. The fact that the IRA was creating jobs and helping lower prices, not getting through to most Americans. We're very online people, Mike Casey. We see this kind of stuff, but that news doesn't trickle down to everybody. And now that Trump's budget has slashed the IRA, Democrats have shifted their messaging to argue the bill will be raising costs for Americans, something we've been screaming from the rooftops for a while now. It's an effort to portray Republicans as the party of higher energy costs and power shortages, targeting the moderate Republicans who once urged Congress to preserve Biden's tax breaks but voted for Trump's bill anyway. Now, Democrats have followed this messaging in interviews, blaming Republicans for causing pocketbook issues, and ads in swing states are attacking certain House Republicans who, quote, just voted to raise your electricity bill. Mike, we know the cost of electricity is going up in every single state as a result of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Over the next 5 years, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20% or so on average. It's gonna hurt. What did you think about this piece?
I'm going to take this out of the partisan to and fro and just say, I'm going to speak to our audience here. This is the test time for clean tech sectors. Will there be any meaningful accountability for politicians who are throwing their constituents out of work and raising energy prices? Take the woman who represents Virginia 2. She has a lot of solar in her district. Mm-hmm. She said she wouldn't throw solar under the bus. She signed the letters, and she was the deciding vote that put the bill from the House into the Senate and got this disaster rolling. Is she going to be held accountable? We'll see. But power bills have increased by 9% since January. This is the time for the industry to put on our adult gloves and the tape, put on our mouthpiece, and play the full contact sport that is capitalism's disruption, Paul. Our fourth story.
I just want to say you don't want to be in the ring with Mike Casey if he's got the mouth glove in. The mouthpiece, rather. The mouth glove. You'd like a glove for your mouth. Story number 4. Our fourth story. Bill McKibben in the New Yorker titled 4.6 billion years on, and the sun is having a moment. We're having a moment, too, trying to be funny. Mike, what did you take out of this one?
All right. We seem to be opinion pieced out the wazoo today, but renewables haters still love to talk about renewables even as solar adds a coal plant's worth of power every 15 hours. And 96% of the global demand for new electricity was met by renewables last year. The arguments is made that if this growth continues, we'll be living in a very different world, one where we aren't relying on a few scattered deposits of fossil fuels, but rather harnessing the ubiquitous power of wind and sun. As we've discussed, Trump's budget will slow the growth of renewables. Rhodium Group found that by 2035, they may eliminate up to 72% of all the clean energy that would have been produced in the U.S. under the IRA. But even despite previous policy shifts, renewable technology will scale well. The piece looks at the big picture. He charts the history of solar and paints an optimistic story of how photovoltaics, wind, and batteries, much like computer chips, have consistently followed learning curves, getting better and cheaper as the market grows. Mr. Gerke, your thoughts?
I'm going to rattle through some numbers real quick because I want to save some time for our guest. This is all back of the matchbook math here, but IEA projecting solar will eventually outgenerate nuclear. It may be as soon as next year, hydro by 2029, gas by 2031, coal by 2032. Then becoming the world's top energy source by 2035. But if we're going to hit net zero by 2050, which, spoiler alert, we're not, we'll need to increase the pace of renewables installation by 20% or so. And one barrier to accelerating solar deployment is sourcing the land, something that's gotten even more difficult over the last few months. According to scientists from 31 different universities, 1 acre solar farm produces as much energy as 100 acres of corn-based ethanol. So there are opportunities for solar out there if we're willing to entertain them. Also, we got long interconnection queues, permitting serving as other barriers. But as things tighten up federally, Mike Casey, I think the states are going to find more and more ways to meet their adequacy needs and keep the lights on.
All right. Fifth story by Sam Black, a first-timer on This Week in Cleantech. He's a filmmaker and journalist for More Perfect Union. He produced this really compelling piece. He voted for Trump. It cost him his job. Sam, I loved this piece. I spotted it. I said, man, we've got to get Sam on this show. I think it was the first time that I saw such a powerful depiction of the human cost of the tax bill. So welcome to the show. I want people to watch this piece, particularly if you work in this industry and you care about where it's going. But Sam, could you just summarize what you saw in this reporting and share like the big takeaway for you?
Yeah, and thank you again for having me on. Yeah, I'm a reporter at More Perfect Union. As you said, we cover economic issues across the country. And for the last 3 years, I've been covering industrial policy and the rollout of the IRA and what an impact that has had on jobs, clean tech jobs. So the logical thing was, once Trump was elected, to look at what was the effect even before the passage of the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. So I started to talk to people in my home state of Maine because I knew that was a state that had seen a lot of solar jobs in particular. And I started hearing that there was an unemployment crisis among trades workers there, particularly electricians. And that had happened quite dramatically this spring. And it was, again, before the bill had been passed, but just the amount of uncertainty that had been caused by the question of what would happen to those tax credits meant that developers, solar developers, people who wanted to build battery storage and also wind farms have just put things on ice for the time being. And now, obviously, those projects are in jeopardy.
We've heard a lot about the other side of the workforce issues, in that there's just not enough good skilled electricians to go around and do these projects that need to be done in order for us to satisfy increasing electric load growth. And so it's shocking to me to hear that that's what's going on in Maine. Have you heard about that happening elsewhere? And does this tip the scales in some way about who can acquire the skilled labor necessary to get these power projects online and when?
Yes, I mean there was a real run up, with the passage of the IRA. There was a huge explosion. Particularly, I was looking at electricians who are represented by the IBEW, but there were apprenticeships programs that many unions ran, and you saw historic numbers of people joining those programs where you could, without even a college degree, go into a trade and make a decent living with good wages and benefits. What was interesting to me was to talk to people, because a lot of the unions are split, whether not just in Maine, but also in states like North Carolina that have seen a lot of these jobs. A lot of those unions are split politically in terms of the rank and file. You have people who voted for Biden, but a huge part of the union membership for the trades are Republicans, or at least Trump voters. So that was the dynamic I was trying to get at in the piece, and I ended up finding. I spoke to a lot of people, but I was particularly interested in this one young man named Braden House, a young electrician who we interviewed for the piece.
Sam, will Susan Collins face any accountability for tossing these guys out of work? Because let's be clear, that's what she did.
Yeah, someone from Maine, Susan Collins has been someone who's obviously showed an ability to stick around much longer than many people thought. and she has a way of, I think, making arrangements within her caucus to make sure she takes the votes. She can when it doesn't matter, vote the right way on some of these bills. But that will be interesting to see. I think certainly, given that what her party represents right now, it's very clear for workers, not just union workers, but workers in the trades in a state like Maine. It's very clear what those jobs meant, and I think even people who voted for Trump, as you may have seen in the piece, are starting to reckon with, the real effects of these political decisions.
Well, I think, Paul, we're just about out of time. We need to go to our Cleantecher of the week.
Let's do it, Mike. Cleantecher of the week this week. Kevin Doffing from Project Vanguard, who shared a post on social media about farmland and solar. He cites that 100 acres of land for ethanol is equal to 1 acre of land for solar statistic we mentioned earlier, and asks the question, do we want to keep burning food for fuel or use a fraction of that land to power our homes, cars, and grid? That is a bit of a simplification of the issue, but we definitely agree with your point, Kevin, and we'll share a link to your post in the episode write-up. Congratulations, our Cleantecher of the week, Kevin Doffing.
Who also served this country. We want to thank him for that. And Kevin runs a really cool veterans initiative to get veterans plugged into the renewable energy industry. I want to thank our wonderful producer, Brian Mendez, and our helpers, Claire Quirin and Alex Peterson, for gathering these stories.
Mendez has set a new high bar for goatees. So, Alex, Claire, ball is in your court. Thanks to Sam Black for joining us this week on This Week in Clean Tech. If you like the show, subscribe, leave feedback, share story suggestions. You can read all the articles we discussed this week by clicking on the links in the episode description. If you're reading this or watching this on Factor This, thanks for the website traffic. You can find the links and descriptions there as well.
We'll talk to you next week.
Cheers, y'all.